Hey friends, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby, and today we're going to be starting on another thriller reading vlog. And in today's reading vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 newly published thrillers. I think all of these thriller books have been published within the last like 2 months or so. And these are all some thrillers that I am very excited to read, and I can't wait to get to the reading vlog. But before we do jump into today's video, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is a new sponsor on this channel because it's Toon Blast. You might have heard about Toon Blast because it is a very popular free-to-play mobile game that is available on all devices where you have to solve puzzles by blasting cubes and creating powerful combos to pass levels. You can play over 7,000 fun levels, and this game has such cute characters. It has really smooth animation. It's really cool too because you can join a team of other players and you can unlock even more awesome rewards. It's really nice too because there's more than just the regular game going on of the blasting the cubes. There's a lot of mini games that happen in between the levels as well, and those are also really fun and really unique. It's really exciting that you can compete against players from all over the world in challenging events to win great prizes. And the most exciting thing for me personally about this game is that you don't need Wi-Fi to play this game, and there are no ads on this game. I don't know about you, but I find it so frustrating when you're just trying to play a game and you just get an endless amount of ads interrupting everything that you're trying to do. But that's why this game is so awesome for me, because there are no ads, there's no interruptions, and it's free to download. Did I mention it's free? Something that I really like about this game is how easy it is to learn. Like, this is a game that you can get your kids into. This is a game that you can play as an adult and find so much enjoyment in. I personally love playing this game just on my phone while I'm like listening to an audiobook. It's that kind of game where you can kind of multitask while you're playing it, and it's very relaxing at the end of the day to just sit on my phone and play this game and listen to an audiobook. And if you download the game through my link, it'll give you not only 3 hours of unlimited lives, but it'll also give you 100 free coins, which is pretty cool. So you can download Toon Blast for free using the link down in my description, or you can check out the pinned comment, or you can even scan the QR code that's available on the screen. So thank you so much to Toon Blast for sponsoring today's video. Let's get into the thriller reading vlog, shall we? So you might be wondering which thrillers I'm planning to read for this video. The first thriller that I'm planning to read is actually going to be Gone Tonight by Pekkanen. This is a book that I am very excited but also kind of nervous to read because if you didn't know, Pekkanen, she's actually one of the co-authors in the duo of Pekkanen and Greer Hendricks, who have published a number of thrillers together, including, you know, The Wife Between Us. They also did An Anonymous Girl and a few others, and I feel like this author duo has always been such a hit or miss for me, you know, because they wrote one of my least favorite books of all time with The Wife Between Us, but then they also wrote a 5-star thriller for me, which is An Anonymous Girl. And so I've always just been very hit or miss with this author duo, and I wasn't sure if I was planning on continuing to read their books as an author duo because I just wasn't sure they were for me anymore. But I decided since this one is just Pekkanen, I was like, well, maybe I can give this one a shot. This one, I don't know too much about it other than that it's a story about a mother and a daughter, and I think we're learning about the mother's past. So very excited to jump into this one. The second thriller that I'm going to be reading for this video is Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari Lapena. I did end up getting the audiobook checked out from my library for this one, so I'm going to be listening to this one on audio. And this is one that I'm excited about because Shari Lapena is a thriller author that I'm pretty sure I've read almost every single one of her thriller books. Like, I'm pretty sure I've read all of them. And Shari Lapena is an author that's also kind of like hit or miss for me. I tend to either really like her thrillers or I just find them to be kind of average. And so I'm hoping that this one is going to be a win for me. This is another one that I don't really know too much about it going into it. I just know that it's going to be one of those like domestic kind of thrillers where we're following a family. I think it involves like one of the daughters in the family going missing or something like that, and then the family's trying to figure out what really is happening with their daughter. Where did she go? I think something Shari Lapena does really well is she's one of those authors that writes thrillers that have a lot of different point of views, so usually they're like really quick and easy to read and easy to fly through. And then the third thriller that I'm going to be reading for this video is this one called You Can Trust Me by Wendy, and this is another one that I don't know too much about it, to be honest. This cover is the thing that intrigues me the most about this because is this not gorgeous? Like, I'm obsessed with the colors on this cover, and it's really screaming summer thriller beach read. And so since we are, you know, approaching the end of summer as it comes to the end of August here, I just thought if now would be the time to read something like this, you know, as summer is quickly coming to an end. And all I really know about this one is that we're following these 2 girls that are best friends. Their names are Summer and Leo, and I think it's about how they would do anything for each other, and then they get involved with these dangerous men. I don't really know too much about this, to be honest. I know that it takes place on an island, I think. So those are all things that intrigue me enough to want to check this out. So hopefully it's a good time. So yeah, I think I'm going to be starting with Gone Tonight, so I will update you once I have thoughts. This afternoon, I have started on Gone Tonight, which has been very exciting. I actually just got to Act 2 in the book. So I'm just about 100 pages in right now. And this one has been pretty intriguing so far, you know, because we're following these two characters. It's like a mother and daughter situation happening here. So there's a 41-year-old mother and her name is Ruth. And then she has a 24-year-old daughter named Catherine that she is trying to protect. And it's really interesting because we do get the perspectives from both the mother and the daughter. And the daughter is growing very concerned because her mom is showing so many signs of, you know, like Alzheimer's, and she's having a lot of like memory problems, which has been really hard to read about, honestly, because that is something that is so scary to me. You know, I've talked time and time again on this channel about how one of my biggest fears in life is like the idea of like losing your own memories and not being able to rely on yourself anymore. And so a lot of the beginning of this book is, you know, her taking her mom to like doctor's appointments and trying to figure out like what's going on. And she's making different lists of like all the things that her mom has been forgetting lately. And it's just really sad and really awful and really hard to read. But then we also do get her mom's perspective, and her mom kind of has this really like mysterious past. Like we don't really know much about what happened with her mom before she was like 18 years old, but we do know that obviously she was a very young mother when she had her because of their, you know, their age difference isn't by very much. We're also kind of following from the perspective of her mom, and we're getting to learn more about her past and like who she was. And so that's actually been pretty interesting. Like, I don't know, I am pretty invested in both timelines so far. Like I'm finding both of their timelines to be pretty interesting. I think at this point in time, I'm a little bit more invested in the past chapters with her mom, like trying to figure out like what exactly happened to her when she was a teenager. I feel like there's a little bit more action happening, if you will, in those chapters in the past, whereas like the present day chapters are a little bit depressing, you know, just following this character as she's trying to like figure out if her mom is getting sick and trying to figure out what's going on with her mom like mentally and if she's okay. It's a little bit depressing and it's kind of a lot to read, if I'm being honest, but I'm enjoying the story so far. I think it's interesting that this has been blurbed by Colleen Hoover. Like that is a little unexpected and random, I feel like. Also, what's cool is that I am currently listening to this on audio because the publishers were able to send me a copy of the audiobook. And what's really cool is that Kate Mara, the actress, she's the one that's narrating this audiobook. She does both the voices of the mother and daughter. And I freaking love Kate Mara. So like how freaking cool is that she's the one narrating this audiobook? I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. So I'm only 33% of the way through this on audio so far. It's been a really productive day for me so far. I actually was able to do some reading sprints on my Patreon this afternoon. I was mostly doing productivity sprints though, you know, because I was editing a reading vlog while I was doing those reading sprints, and then only in the last sprint was I able to really get started on Gone Tonight. But I'm excited because I'm enjoying it so far. It's 5 o'clock right now, so I'm probably going to go ahead and get some dinner started because I'm so freaking hungry. I just pounded this white pineapple monster. Like I just drank this so fast and now I'm feeling like jittery. Like, you know how sometimes after you drink an energy drink so fast or you drink coffee so fast that you get a little bit like jittery, like anxiety? I don't know what that is, but I'm kind of experiencing that. So I'm like, I need to get some food in my body right now. And then I also think tonight, me and my sister, we're gonna be watching the One True Loves movie, you know, like the Taylor Jenkins Reid movie adaptation from the book. And I'm very excited for this tonight because I'm gonna be doing a Patreon exclusive reading vlog kind of video this month where I read the book One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and then I also watch the movie within the same video. So yeah, that video will be probably up on my Patreon by the time that this video goes up. So if you want to check that out, I will have it linked down below. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention to you that there was this part right in the beginning of chapter 2. There was this quote that I really liked. I feel like this book got so deep out of nowhere, but it says, "I'm good at disappearing. We women do it all the time. We vanish in the eyes of men when we hit our 40s. We dive into roles like motherhood and our identities slip away. We disappear at the hands of predators. We're conditioned to shrink, to drop weight, to take up less physical space in the world." Wow. Isn't that an impressive, like, opening to the chapter? Like, I just kind of love a thought-provoking feminist kind of quote like that. And so I just had to share it with you. Okay, hi, I wanted to update this vlog because I have just finished reading Gone Tonight. I actually took a couple of days off, like in between reading this book, like since the last time that I updated you, because I ended up filming another video of like Instagram controls my life for the last like 2 days or so. And so it's been a couple of days since the first update that I first updated you, and then I ended up just staying in bed this whole afternoon finishing up the last like 200 pages or so. And this was kind of a bummer, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like ratings wise, this one's probably not gonna get anything higher than like 2 stars. So this book is divided into 3 different acts, you know, and after Act 1 was the time that I first updated you, and I do think that Act 1 of this book is pretty interesting because we are getting the point of views of both the mother and the daughter, and you know, we're trying to figure out like what's going on because the mother feels like she's like losing her memories and she's kind of like on the run from her past, and you're trying to figure out like what exactly happened in her past. And then you also follow from the perspective of her daughter, who's a full-grown adult, and she's a nurse, and she's noticing all of these signs in her mother, like she seems to be losing her memories. And it was just, I don't know, like I thought the first act of this book was really intriguing. I thought the writing was good. I liked the way it was going back and forth. It was like building a lot of intrigue. But then we hit Act 2 of this book and we find out pretty much right away something from the mother's point of view that kind of, I don't know, like it just makes it seem like, okay, like that's where the story's going, I guess. And I just didn't love the thing that the mother is like hiding from her daughter, or like that kind of element to the story. Like it just didn't feel right to me. Like I just thought it was really fucked up what the mother was doing to her daughter, and so I wasn't a huge fan of that aspect of the story. And then I also just feel like, you know, once we're in part 2 of this book and we are reading the mother's chapters, like the mother is revealing a lot about different things that have happened in her past, and we really start to get a grasp about, you know, like what the story's even about essentially. But then I started to get annoyed with the daughter Catherine's chapters because we would still be jumping back and forth between Ruth and then her daughter Catherine, but it seemed like Catherine's chapters were completely pointless, you know, because we were finding out everything we needed to know from Ruth's chapters, and then Catherine's chapters were just her trying to figure out about her mother's past, and it's like, it's everything that we already know as the reader, so it's like you're essentially just like waiting for her to eventually catch up to where we're at. So it just didn't seem like those chapters were very necessary to me, and it kind of felt like the story was getting so repetitive because I was like, oh my gosh, like we already know what happened because I just read about it in the chapter before, and like she just needs to catch up. And so I wasn't a huge fan of the second part of this book. Like I feel like the second part of this book was just so boring, and then we get to the third part, which is like this, you know, intense ending, but I really don't think that this third act really did much for me because once the like villain of the story is revealed, I just didn't find them to be that threatening, or like I guess I just wasn't that interested in the story because I didn't care enough about these characters to really like care about their fate. And it was also like one of those things where, I don't know, the ending just felt so low stakes for me personally. Like once I realized what the general premise was of this book and that's all the thrilling things that are going to be happening, I was kind of like, oh, okay, like this is not exactly my favorite kind of thriller. I don't know why, for me personally, like the stakes just never felt that high. I was just like, okay, and then also like the very end of this book, it tries to like do that like last minute plot twist thing where it like pulls the rug out from under you, but I'm also like, I've seen this twist a million times in thrillers. Like I've seen it so many times. I just feel like if you're an avid thriller reader, I mean, maybe this won't be the case for everyone, but I do think that if you're an avid thriller reader, I don't think this is gonna bring anything new to the table that you haven't seen before. Like, I don't know, I feel like I've read 100 thrillers that are just like this, so I just wasn't surprised by anything that was happening in this. Hi, what's up? How's it going? It's the next day. I actually didn't end up reading anything last night before bed that was like a thriller. I just read the Alice in Borderland Volume 2 manga that I've currently been so obsessed with. Like that Alice in Borderland manga series is so good. And if you like the TV show, I would definitely still recommend reading the manga because the manga has been so much fun to get into, and I think it's just as good as the TV show, so that has been very exciting. Today, I know like I sound like I'm sick because there's so much smoke outside. There's been like a lot of fires recently in like Canada and in eastern Washington, and it's blowing, like all the smoke has been blowing into, you know, western Washington where I'm at. And today the smoke has just been really bad. It's pretty unbearable outside right now, and because of that, it's like really messing with my allergies, and I feel like I'm sick even though I know that I'm not sick. But the smoke is just really bad and terrible, so it's made me feel just kind of like extra lazy today. And it's definitely way too hot to be wearing this, you know, hoodie, but I'm also just kind of like, I don't give a fuck. I just want to be cozy in bed on a Sunday. And so right now I'm currently just chilling in my bed. I'm doing some Patreon reading sprints right now actually. And I've just been listening to Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari Lapena on audio. I just got this audiobook checked out from my library and I don't have a physical copy to be following along with. So I've just been listening very closely and taking lots of notes. I like to take lots of notes on all of the characters whenever I read a book in this way. That way, if I ever just kind of get a little bit confused or lost in the audiobook, I can just come back to my notes to remember like which character is which. But so far, this has been a very, I don't know, kind of like simple and basic setup to a domestic thriller in my opinion. Like so far we're following this character named William, and he's a doctor and a father, and he's having an affair. He's like cheating on his wife right at the beginning with this other woman named Nora. And William and his wife Erin, they have this daughter named Avery who is just a very difficult child, as they say. But right at the beginning of this book, William freaking hits Avery, like slaps her across the face or whatever, and then shortly after this like dramatic incident that happens between William and Avery, Avery goes missing, and so the police get involved and they start like looking into their lives. And you know, I feel like this is like a typical thriller setup because it's like the dad is like, oh my god, they're gonna think that I had something to do with her going missing just because I hit her, so he's like trying to hide things from the police. And then, you know, they have this other son, Michael, who like, you know, might know more information about what might have happened, but he's starting to think that it's his fault. So it's like everyone has something going on, you know, like the title implies, everyone here is lying. And so far it's just been okay, you know, because we're just getting to the point where it's like things are starting to unravel with like the affair and like people finding out about their family's secrets and things like that. I don't know. I'm only 27% of the way into this audiobook so far, and you know, so far it's going fine, but I'm just going to continue listening to this on audio throughout the rest of the day and hoping that it improves and that it does something exciting. So exhausted right now. I think I'm going to go downstairs and get a Monster out of the fridge because I'm like, I need energy. I am so tired. Like I'm literally going to sit here and fall asleep. Okay, hi, I just wanted to do a quick update because it's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I've still just been laying in bed most of this afternoon. I've just been playing games on my phone and then editing this thumbnail that's driving me crazy. I've been re-editing this thumbnail for like over an hour now, but I'm still listening to Everyone Here Is Lying, and I'm 72% of the way through the book, so I'm getting close to being done with it here. And so far, I don't know, I finally got to a moment where there was like kind of a twist or like something got revealed that was like, oh, okay, like that's a little bit interesting, but it's still like, I don't know, the reasoning behind the twist still wasn't my favorite. Like it just felt so like basic kind of and obvious. So I don't know, I still have about 30% of the book left, so I'm really hoping that some crazy shit goes down in the last like 30% of this book that really like ups my rating, because right now it's looking like it's gonna be between like a 2 and a 3 star for me. Like it's just really nothing special. Like nothing about this thriller really stands out to me. This just, it kind of reads like every other Shari Lapena book so far in my opinion. I don't know. I always question if, you know, the more thrillers that I read, like do I get more cynical with thrillers the more thrillers that I read because I feel like I've seen it all before? Like am I becoming a more critical person, or are thrillers just becoming less interesting? Do you think that's like the case for everyone? I don't know. I'm just so curious for other thriller readers who have been reading thrillers for a long time, like for many years. Do you also find that you've been more disappointed by a lot of like mainstream thrillers lately, or is it just me? Because I feel like nowadays it takes a lot for me to like absolutely love a thriller. I don't know, and I don't want it to be that way because I do love this thriller genre. It's just, there's just so many things that I just see repeated so often in thrillers that I just don't get surprised as often as I used to. I'm gonna hold my breath. I won't say anything else until I finish this book, and then I'll come back at you with some final thoughts. I'm still doing reading sprints on Patreon. I'm doing what might be my last sprint right now, but I do still plan to finish this book up before the end of the day. Hello, it has been a couple of hours now. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and earlier tonight me and my sister had a very nice dinner, and we also ended up going and getting frozen yogurt, and then we watched 2 episodes of The Crowded Room, which is this show on Apple TV. We're about 3 episodes in now, and I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest. I feel like it's been a little bit slow so far, but my dad really enjoyed the show, so I think we're gonna try to finish it because of how much my dad loved it. So I'm like hoping that it picks up, and there's definitely some mystery in the show that I'm intrigued by, but it's just been a really slow start in my opinion. But anyways, I wanted to update you because I did end up finishing Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari Lapena. I did end up finishing this book, and I think overall I feel very lukewarm about this book. I'm probably gonna end up giving this one 3 stars. It's not a bad thriller by any means. I actually think the book picked up a lot in that last like 30 to 40% of it. Like it definitely picked up in my intrigue. Like I was still intrigued enough to want to finish it. I liked where it ended up going, but then I still found the very end of the book, like the last chapter, I just thought it was a little bit underwhelming at the end. It was like, it almost felt like not like unfinished, but just like I could have used a little bit more from that ending, I guess. It just kind of felt like it ended, and I was like, oh, all right. You know, like one of the main characters in this book is this girl, Avery. She's like the 9-year-old girl that goes missing at the start of this book, and we do get some of her like perspective, I guess you could say, in the book. She does not read like a 9-year-old girl, okay? Like that's one of my biggest critiques of this book, is that this girl does not read like a 9-year-old. She honestly reads more like a teenager. Like I kept having to remind myself that this girl was only 9 years old. I was like, why does she like talk and act the way she does and the way she thinks? I'm like, she literally is like a whole ass adult right now. I don't understand how this character is supposed to be only 9 years old. Like make it make sense. So that kind of took me out of the story like numerous times because I kept forgetting that she was only supposed to be 9 years old. And I don't know, I just had a few little like nitpicky things with this book like that, but otherwise like it's a perfectly readable thriller. I would totally agree with everyone who says that Shari Lapena's books are the kind of thrillers that you could easily, you know, finish and binge read in like one sitting, because they are so simplistic and easy to read that they are really quick and they're easy to get through, which is something that I do like about most of her thrillers. Yeah, but this one was very middle of the road for me. I don't know, it was a 3-star. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it because it didn't really do a whole lot for me. I do think that next I want to pick up You Can Trust Me by Wendy, and I honestly really didn't know too much about this book before picking it up, but I just looked on Goodreads, and apparently this author has only published young adult books before, which is interesting. I don't think that I've actually ever read a book from this author before, but I always think it's interesting when authors make the jump from like only writing young adult and then publishing their first adult book. So I'm kind of curious, but also a little bit nervous now because I'm like, oh my god, is this gonna read like a young adult book because this author has only published young adult before? I don't really know, but I'm hoping that this one is going to deliver on all of the summer vibes, you know, because it is nearing the end of August, we are nearing the end of summer, and I just want to read at least one more summer thriller before the season is over, you know, so hopefully this one will deliver on all of those vibes. I just really need a pick-me-up right now. I'm like, if I don't enjoy this thriller either, then I don't know what I'm gonna do. Ooh, I just saw this blurb on the back that makes me feel excited because it says, come for the glass onion-esque island and eat the rich mentality, stay for the clever layered female characters. Like, that sounds promising. I wasn't the biggest fan of Glass Onion, but I did like the vibes of that movie with like the island vibes and the eat the rich mentality. Like, I can get behind that. So hoping that this one is a win for me. It is the next morning and it is still very smoky outside. I did get a chance to leave the apartment this morning because I wanted to go pick up some of my library holds, which include Alice in Borderland Volume 3 because I'm currently freaking obsessed with this series. And then I also decided to get Something is Killing the Children, which this is Volume 2. And this one's more of a, graphic novel series that I've been really into. I've been meaning to grab the second one for a while because I read the first volume a few months ago. So I'm really excited to read both of these. But then today, while I was, leaving the apartment, I just went to the library and I went to the gas station. I was doing a few things out and about. So I have started on the You Can Trust Me audiobook and I only got about 50 pages in. I think I'm on chapter 8 so far. And so far this has been interesting. We're following from the perspectives of two different women. One of them is named Summer and the other one is named Leo. It took me a minute to realize that her name was Summer and it wasn't like, because for some reason when it said summer and then it said June or something, I was like, oh, so it takes place in summer? Like I was confused for a minute and then I was like, oh no, that's her name. Okay, we're following a woman named Summer and then her friend named Leo. And these two girls are kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of like best friends who are like known to kind of like pickpocket and shoplift and like steal from rich men. They kind of like both go after like billionaire men and like try to like take from them or like try to ruin their lives, I guess. It honestly kind of reminds me of White Lotus. If you've seen the second season of White Lotus, those two girls, like the ones that I'm talking about, they totally are giving me those vibes so far. We do get both of the women's perspectives in this book and honestly, their perspectives are reading so similarly that I am struggling to even tell them apart. But there's a moment right at the beginning of this book where I think it's Summer is like out on a date with this guy and then Leo, she seems to like have gone missing. Like she can't get a hold of her. Yeah, so Leo is the one who ends up going missing after this date with this guy who's like a billionaire. It's just kind of like a shady situation. And so we're following Summer now as she's trying to figure out what actually happened to her friend. She hears that there's this like mysterious island where this like billionaire does all of his like business on this island. And I don't fully understand what he does, but I guess it's some kind of like hush hush, like behind the scenes kind of like weird shit that he's doing on this island. I don't fully understand. Summer's character, she's gonna try to go to this island to see if she can find her friend Leo and to see like what's actually going on this island. So I don't know, so far I'm intrigued. I mean, I've barely made a dent, I'm only 19% of the way in, so it can really go either way. Like I can see myself either really enjoying this or really finding it cringy, so I guess we'll just have to continue reading. Plan for this afternoon is just to read as much of this as I can. I'm gonna pour one of my Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee little like drinks from the fridge. It was so hard for me to leave the apartment and to not go and get an iced coffee. Like I don't know why that is so hard. It's like every time I leave the apartment I'm like, I need iced coffee, but I'm like, I don't like have self-control. I need to have self-control. And so for now we're just gonna go with the Dunkin' Donuts that I got at the grocery store that's in my fridge because I do have some self-control today. Okay, hi, it's a little bit later in the afternoon. It's about 3:30, but I did want to update you because I have finished on You Can Trust Me. I was actually going to try and update you sooner, but I didn't realize how short this book is, or it just feels like it went by really fast. It's only about 286 pages, so I was easily able to fly through this in pretty much one sitting. And I feel like I have kind of, I don't know, I feel like I have mixed feelings about this book because this is not the typical kind of thriller that I'm usually very intrigued by. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do love the like eat the rich, summer vibes, like good for her energy that this book has. And I think this book has really great like island atmosphere. I think it's one of those books that's like the perfect beach read because it's very like mindless and it just lacks that depth that I feel like I was looking for from this. Like it's a very surface level, easy to read, you can get through it in a day kind of book. And I actually really did like both of the female, protagonists in this book when we follow Summer and Leo. I really did enjoy both of them as female characters and I felt like their stories were pretty well fleshed out that I cared enough about them to like figure out what was happening. I guess my issue with this book is that I don't really love the trope, I guess, in thrillers of like people who are con artists kind of getting involved with like billionaires and then like getting involved with dangerous people. It's just not really something that I find that interesting or like that thrilling in my thrillers. I can't recall if I've read any other books like this. Like, I'm sure that I have, but I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but it's because I know that this is not usually my kind of thriller. Like, I just don't love reading about people conning each other and getting involved with like rich people in that way. I just don't find it as interesting. There was one thing towards the end that I was like, oh, that's an interesting twist that I kind of didn't see coming, but it's also like one of those twists where I feel like you really have to like suspend your disbelief to like buy into that, you know? It's like, oh, really? Like, okay, sure, we'll go there. But otherwise, I felt like this was a pretty, you know, predictable kind of standard thriller. Like I've been saying, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just the thrillers that I've been picking up recently or if it's just thrillers in general that I'm just finding to be all right, because I think I'm gonna end up giving this one 3 stars. I do think I would still recommend this if you're looking for something that's like a quick and easy read to get through, and if you're looking for something that has that like summer island feel to it and that like good for her, like, you know, I love the great relationship between these two girls and how they're literally like ride or die best friends. And you know, especially because our character Leo in this book, she had a sister that died 10 years ago, and so she's kind of not like replaced her sister with Summer, but she sees Summer as even more of a sister because she had lost her sister. So I did really like the bond between these two girls, and like their relationship was really cute to read about. So that's definitely something that was more interesting than just like the thriller elements of this book. Like I thought the characters were pretty interesting and well fleshed out. So at least there's that. There were so many scenes in this book though that were like flashback chapters of like 10 years ago or like 15 years ago or even 5 years ago, where you're reading about these girls' past. And I guess while it might have been necessary to, you know, give these characters some growth and some background so that you care about them, some of the chapters I just felt like they got a little bit like repetitive and just kind of annoying, and I felt like there was other ways we could have learned that information without actually having to read a flashback chapter just dedicated to that specific thing. Like, I don't know, it just kind of felt like it was getting a little bit repetitive at times. And so like besides those little nitpicky things, I thought this was a totally fine thriller. It's probably like a 3-star for me. I'm kind of bummed that in this video I didn't end up finding any new favorites. I mean, I would love to know if you have read any of these, you know, 3 books that I read for this video. I would love to know what your thoughts are of them if you have read any of them. I would also love to know of any thrillers that you've recently given like 4 or 5 stars, or any recent thrillers that you've read that you absolutely loved, because clearly I have been lacking in loving the thrillers lately. So I would love any recommendations you have for ones that I might actually like a lot better. And just one last reminder, don't forget to go and check out Toon Blast. You can use the link down in my description to go and download it and start playing it today. Throughout this entire reading vlog, anytime I was listening to an audiobook, I was most likely also playing Toon Blast because it was so much fun and so perfect to pair with an audiobook. So definitely use that link down below to go and check out Toon Blast. And thank you so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you very soon with another one. Bye!